Hello, welcome to another episode of Varsity360. I am Columbian sports editor Micah Rice with a special guest in studio. We have new Mountain View football coach Sean McDonald here in the First Pacific Financial Studio. Coach McDonald, thank you for taking some time, and I'm excited to learn about the program that you've just joined and what the offseason is going to look like heading into what should be a very exciting 2024 season at Mountain View High School.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite and love talking football, so anytime I get a chance to.
All right. Well, we'll get right into it. And once again, we're coming to you from the First Pacific Financial Studio. Thank you to them for supporting the show, for supporting high school sports, and by extension, supporting the community at large. And part of that community, revolves around high school football and Mountain View. You talk about a program that over the last couple of decades has become a regional power. Obviously, the success track record that Adam Matheson had there, elevating them to a program that reached the state semifinals and was a perennial league champion. You take charge of that program in a time of a little bit of change. What made you decide to take the leap from Mountain View after, joining Woodland and winning a league title last year at Woodland?
Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine to run a program like a college program. And I think the higher roster numbers at a school like Mountain View is appealing to me. I followed their success over the past few years. I've met with Adam a few times at team camps, and I really looked at his program, and he did a great job. And so it's going to be some big shoes to fill. But I just think the higher numbers, the 3A GSHL is such a great league to be in. Very competitive. We talked about that earlier. And just a chance to go compete with the best. And yeah.
What was when the job came open? Obviously, Aaron Hart was there for 1 year, but what made you look at that position and say, that's going to be a good fit?
Yeah, I due to the levy failure at Woodland, I actually had to apply at some other jobs, so it kind of opened my eyes to the Evergreen School District. But then walking into those facilities at Mountain View and seeing them for the first time, it's a very beautiful building. The facilities, I don't think I could have created a better weight room if I would have done it myself. So I think it's just, a great opportunity, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah,
I mean, that's a luxury that you have at Mountain View with a brand new building, brand new turf fields, that weight room. How important is that from a coach's perspective to have that kind of thing in your backyard where you can just, go and get the work in and not have facilities be an issue?
Yeah, I think it excites kids to have nice facilities, and it definitely sells itself. Football's almost like a business. You have to be able to sell it to the kids, and the fact that they can walk into a beautiful building, beautiful facilities is a plus for sure, and makes things a lot easier.
So Mountain View, they win the league championship last year. Obviously, we touched on that rich tradition that they had, but you take the job a couple of weeks ago, there's got to be some challenges you face with filling a coaching staff, introducing yourself to the kids. What's that process been like, and how has that gone for you to fill the coaching staff in these first few weeks since taking the job?
Yeah, definitely a tough task. I've actually been working pretty hard for the last few weeks, reaching out to past players that I've played with, guys that I've coached with in the past, and I think I have 13 to 15 guys that are really interested in coming on board. We're just in the works of figuring out how that puzzle fits together. But some, a lot of guys with college playing experience, a lot of guys with coaching experience. So yeah, I think it's the staff is really coming together over the last week. I'm super excited about it. That was one of the challenges, though, I knew going into this job. So I think the fact that I had those connections in the past with those guys, and that I kind of put feelers out before taking the job, I think it's really coming together.
When you reach out to folks you might consider having on your staff, what are the main selling points you're telling them about why they should come and join you at Mountain View?
Well, I talked about it a little bit already. The facilities, man, they're top notch, and watching film on those Mountain View players, there's a lot of good dudes out there, and I think they're competitive. It's one of the top programs in the state of Washington, I think, year after year. So I think there's a lot of selling points to Mountain View. And just the ability to come coach with me hopefully is a selling point.
Yeah, well, you've had a track record of success that we'll get into later. I'm interested to hear more about your coaching philosophy. 3 state titles at Kalama in just 2 years at Woodland. You elevated that program to league championship caliber. I gather, though, you've had a chance to meet the kids initially here at Mountain View. What's your initial impression of the kids that are in the program and will now be, they obviously probably have a few questions. Some of the upperclassmen, it's their 3rd coach in 3 years. So what has been your initial meetings with the kids? What's that been like?
I'm impressed. They meet the eye test for sure. When you talk about kids getting recruited, the college coaches always come through and, do they meet the eye test? And we had our first team meeting with the parents and players, and they met the eye test. Film wise, I've been breaking down a little bit, and they look good. They look athletic. They look ready to play. I think they're hungry. I think they are eager to get ready. I've been reaching out to players over the last few weeks, and they've had a ton of questions, great questions about staff and who I'm bringing on with me. So I think they're eager to get ready to go.
Yeah, You're bringing in a coaching staff. You're also implementing your game plan. What is that process going to be like? You said you start some spring practices at the end of May. What is that going to be like, and what's the summer going to be like to get the kids on board with the game plan you want to put in place there?
Definitely. It's going to look similar to what they've done in the past. We're going to go to camp. The practice might look a little different. But I have a plan going in. We're going to hit the ground running 4 days a week, and then we'll break into a 3-day week schedule after that first week. And then we're going to go to George Fox University for camp, which I think is huge. Anytime you can get a group of guys together and go build a culture at a camp, it's huge. And just to get those practice reps, camp reps are there's nothing better because you get almost like 2 or 3 games worth of reps during a camp session. So I think that'll really benefit the team, and just a great bonding experience for those kids.
Yeah, I want to go deeper into that. Like how is the best way to kind of instill not only a game plan but a mentality? Is it repetition? Is it that time together at camps? What's really a key to because kids, they can be flexible, but if they've grown up playing a certain style, I imagine there's an adjustment period.
Definitely. I think there's going to be a learning curve. I will be bringing my offense and defense into it. But I think the mentality, offensive and defensive wise, you're right there. It's reps, repetitions. The more reps they can get at it, and the less thinking they have to do on the field, the better. Mentality wise, it's just building relationships with the kids and, building that family atmosphere for them. It's something that they want to come do every day. And that's how you build a competitive team.
What's been your gauge on like the enthusiasm for turnout? Because Mountain View, obviously, it's a program that doesn't really have to sell itself based on its history. But you look at last season, they had amazing talent in a lot of positions, but the depth wasn't quite where you'd expect a top-notch 3A team to be. What do you see for getting those numbers up from like the mid-40s where they were last year to maybe something where depth is going to be a strength of yours?
Yeah, I think once I get in building, it's going to be a huge part of it. Recruiting the hallways is always a big part of any program. But just getting the kids excited and getting them to buy into something. Talking to their friends about, how much fun they're having at practice and, what we're doing and what we're building. I think the excitement around the program will help the numbers and the turnout.
Well, you've successfully done that. Your track record, obviously, 3 state championships at Kalama, league title at Woodland. And that leads me to my next question is, what is the best way to establish a winning mentality? You've had the opportunity to do that. You took over a Woodland team that I think had won 3 games the previous year before you took them over. And in 2 years, they're league champions. How do you establish a winning mentality?
I think you lead by example. You preach it every day at practice. What your beliefs are. We have the 3 pillars that all been still in my program. It's accountability, character, and toughness. So we'll preach on that day in, day out. If every kid knows the meaning of those 3 words by the end of the season, then I've been successful. As far as I forgot.
Oh, just that winning mentality. I guess I'll refine it a little bit more. How do you take those pillars of success and put them into practice on the field where they get results?
Yeah, definitely. I think it goes back to those repetitions and just, making the game simple for them and instilling it. If we can make good men at the end of the day, at the end of the season, then the wins will come later.
When you see a kid enter the program, again, this is more philosophical question from you as a coach. Would you rather a kid come into the program with a lot of natural talent, but maybe not the attitude that you like, or would you rather have a kid come in with a great attitude and not the best talent? Which of those perspectives would you prefer?
I think attitude's hard to teach. I mean, in the long run, we can teach kids to have a better attitude, but I would much rather have a kid that's bought into a program, great attitude every day, smile on his face, over the talent for sure. Because
I imagine if they have that can-do attitude that not only lifts them up and allows them to succeed maybe in a way that someone just relying on natural talent would do, but I imagine that also rubs off on other kids, doesn't it?
Definitely, it's contagious for sure. So good attitudes will bring more.
What do you look for in a kid to say, hey, that kid's got the right mindset?
Work ethic, man. If they, I'm a huge weight room guy. I think culture is built in the weight room. I think there's so many benefits to being in the weight room together. So if they can, work their butt off in the weight room all summer long, it's a huge benefit.
Yeah. What is a enthusiastic weight room culture look like? Is it getting, everybody around when a guy's trying to, lift heavier weights than he ever has before? Is it getting the music? Is it kind of holding each other to a higher standard and make him go that little bit farther? What is a good weight room culture?
I think just holding everybody to a higher standard where, they understand that they need to show up and put the work in every day. I'm not a big hoorah guy, but I'm all about the weight room, and I believe that every great program I've been a part of, there's been a very high percentage turnout in the weight room in the summertime and in the daytime. Just the buy-in and the willingness to come and ready to work every day.
Do you remember your first reaction the first time you stepped into the new Mountain View weight room? What was that like?
Man, I'm just awestruck. It was, like I said, I don't think I could have built it better myself. It's just beautiful. There's 20 platforms, 20 squat racks, goes right onto a little turf practice area, and then it looks right out onto the practice field. I don't think, it's got to be top 10 in the state of Washington weight rooms wise. It's going to be a lot of fun to get in there.
Yeah. Flashback to where you got your coaching start at Kalama. Obviously, you inherited a program with rich tradition. You had been a part of that tradition. What would you say was the bedrock of why you were successful with those teams at Kalama? What made those teams so successful?
I think I was blessed with a lot of good players in that era. I had two really good quarterbacks that we got to coach, Alex Dyer and Jackson Esri, and then we had a ton of skill athletes that were just top notch if they would have been at any level. Just the players that came through in those 7 years that I was there, they were awesome. And, in the relationships I built with those guys, I still chat with them on a daily basis or, weekly at least, texting back and forth. And, those were some great times. And I think it goes back to, build those relationships first and the wins will come later.
When you decided to take what you had built at Kalama and then transfer that to Woodland and then now transferring that to Mountain View, what do you look back on as things that you wanted, like, okay, if I can do that exactly like I did when we first tried it at Kalama, what are some of those things that you sort of look back at and have sort of built your attitude on coaching?
Yeah, just to replicate the buy-in to the program that we had. Woodland and Kalama both went into the community and they bought in full 100%. Kalama was a little bit easier because I was, it was my alma mater and grew up there, so I had a lot of relationships with the kids that were already in the program. Woodland accepted me, open arms, and I was very thankful for that, and they really bought in. So again, just building that relationship with the community, the team, really just set us at a higher level than everybody else because everybody felt welcomed when they come to practice and they wanted to be a part of it in both communities.
Let's go back to the start in your involvement with the sport. When did you remember the first time strapping on a helmet and where was that?
Youth football in Kelso, man. It was, I think we were the Olsons, had a great little squad, and that's when I fell in love with it.
Was there a position you were drawn to? Or
I was a big kid when I was a little youngster, so I was a lineman.
All right. Did you enjoy the offense or the defense more?
At heart, I'm a defensive lineman, but I love it all. I'll play everything. I played every position. Played a little tight end in arena football. So, but yeah, I'm a defensive lineman at heart.
So you grow up through the youth football leagues, then you join Kalama, obviously a successful program, throughout tradition that you can point to. What do you remember some of the lessons you learned as a player for that program that you still draw on today?
Yeah, high school it was all about the brotherhood, the family. All my best friends were on those teams. We still get together and talk about it today. Yeah, it was just that family atmosphere we brought, and we were going to battle together at every game, and yeah.
I imagine if you're part of a program that you said feels like a family, you can kind of say, well, it must be like that everywhere, but we know from seeing that it isn't. What's the key? What is that glue to making sure that a program feels like a family?
Just making sure every kid on that team, feels welcomed and feels like they have a part and they have that they have a need on that team. Try to build a relationship with every single player so that they can feel welcomed every day.
When did you first consider getting into coaching? Do you remember a moment either when you were still a player or when you're kind of looking ahead 5-10 years in the future that said, hey, maybe coaching's for me? What was that?
Yeah, so in college I was a strength and conditioning All-American, and my goal was kind of to be a college strength coach. And so I knew I wanted to get into the coaching realm in some way. I had a great strength coach in college, Coach Drew Peterson at Humboldt State University, and he really showed me that through a weight program, what you can gain out of that. And so that was kind of the dream. And then it kind of just spawned into coaching football, because out of arena football, I was doing some athletic training for kids, doing some basketball training and some football weightlifting stuff on the summertime. And then Coach Sean Perkins from Mark Morris actually got in touch with me when I was doing some training over there for them. And he brought me on staff, and, I fell in love with it and never looked back.
Would you consider yourself an X's and O's guy, or more of a, get in the same room and sort of, coach guys up that way?
I think football is a culture sport for sure. If you build a great culture, you're gonna do good things. I like to think I know a little bit about X's and O's. I don't think you can be a great coach unless you do know a thing or two. But when it comes down to it, if you build a great culture, and you put any plan in, you're going to succeed.
In what ways do you think you've grown most as a coach from year one to now?
I was talking to one of my Woodland players today about this. I was straight out of college, arena football, into a head coaching job. So, I was a little bit more fired up, a little bit more on edge back in those days. So I've relaxed a little bit, a little bit more PG, I guess you would say. So, and just worrying about building those relationships more so now rather than winning. I think my first year as a head coach, I really, focused on the wins rather than, building that culture and that family atmosphere. And I think by doing that, I've built better programs. Yeah,
well, the next phase of it, 2024 at Mountain View. I guess final question, when you look ahead to the 2024 season and taking the reins of that program, what in your mind would constitute a successful first season for you at Mountain View?
Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit, is that turnout. If I can get more kids to turn out for the season than they had in the past year, and we can get kids fired up to be a part of a program again, and be ready to come back for that spring season the following year. If we can get, upper 80s to 100 kids out, that would be a great benefit. I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm a competitor, though. We talk about winning the week every week, and so our goal is to go out and win. And that's always a head coach's goal, is to win games. But I think by making those kids feel welcomed and excited about a program, I think it'll come.
Well, it's the middle of spring, but football can't get here soon enough. Like you said, spring practice is just next month, and then you have all the summer camps, and then before we know it, we'll be talking heading, what your team looks like heading into the three-year St. Helens League season. So Coach Sean McDonald, thank you very much for being a guest on this show, talking some football, and we can't wait to see how it looks in the fall.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, and go Thunder.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you next week.